Jeff, guys, coming back after spring break, how'd the group look today?
We were okay. I mean, you can tell we've been off too long and got a little sloppy, honestly. We weren't bad. We just, it's funny because we spoke on time management today, and one of the things we talked about is, it's good to get some time off at times, but I also made the point we've probably been off too long. To get a week off, it's too much, and we were not as sharp as we normally are.
I think we're talking to Brandon Brown today. What has it meant to this team over the last couple of years just to have him be such a solid presence there in the middle of the defensive line?
Yeah, he's invaluable. I mean, he's as much as responsible for how good we've been on defense the last few years as anybody. He's so unselfish. He draws double teams at all times. His effort never changes. He's never too high. He's never too low. He's a really good human being. He's an old soul, and we're grateful to have him on our football team.
He's going to be the only one of last year's 2-0 guys who will take the field for you in week 1 this season. Does that put him in kind of a special position on this team right now?
Yeah, he's always been in a special position. I would fully expect him to be voted right back in that number. That's just the kind of human he is and the player he is as well.
I noticed at Pro Day yesterday he seemed kind of up close and was like really kind of locked in on some of the details of the different drills, maybe preparing for that process a year from now. What do you see for him as far as those prospects, what he could do at the next level someday?
It's interesting that you brought that up just because I watched that in particular as well. I can always tell who really thinks they're going to go and who just talks about it. And there were a number of guys that were out there just to watch, but there were a few out there to make sure they were ready. And to your point, he was one of those ones out there to make sure he's ready.
Do you think he's got, a legitimate shot at that, or what do you see for him as far as how he projects to that level?
Anybody that plays at this level has a potential to do that. It's just a matter if you develop yourself.
Coach, you said that they came out a little slow today, a little bit not as you guys usually do. Is that normal for coming out of a spring break like this?
It is very normal. I'm a little more disappointed in my own self that I didn't, expect it. I picked up on the team meeting, and it just kind of started that way. And I repeat, we were not bad. We were just not to our standard. It's just not the way we're going to do it around here.
How's that something you can fix to, get people more into it and your players more into it as they come back from a week off?
You just communicate what your expectations are, and if they don't meet your expectations, you give them something that makes them wish they would have met their expectations the first time.
Devin McEwen's the other guy coming in here today. How is he different now compared to a year ago just because of the experience he had and the opportunity to do it for a season?
He's an old soul as well. He's like Brandon. They were like grandfathers the day you started coaching them. They're just wise beyond their years. He comes from really good people. But now the difference is he knows what he's doing. Where last year he was just a freshman and kind of learning as he went. Now he really knows the offense, and we expect him to really have a super year.
Are there different areas of his game that he can be working on developing now, or do you see him potentially taking steps forward?
There's always places those guys can always get better. No one's done ever. But I would just say his stamina, his ability to practice and not get nicked up because he's such an elite athlete would be something he'll be paying a lot of attention to, just with his hydration, his flexibility, because he can just run so fast that he's always going to have a potential for soft tissue injuries just because he's wired like a Lamborghini, where I'm more like a four-wheel drive Ford 1968 pickup truck.
It's a big difference for him to come in here now as the presumed number 1 receiver versus last year when he's kind of trying to prove himself and find a spot in the depth chart at all. Does that create like a different attitude or mentality within him?
Yeah, I wouldn't. That room's pretty deep. Who the number 1 receiver is in that room, I'd say it's still up in debate. It's a pretty deep room. We're really excited about that room. Coach Price has done a fantastic job recruiting and developing in that room. And we feel good about a lot of those guys, honestly, Greg. But there's no doubt he has the potential to be a number 1 in that room. But there's a few guys I would say the same thing about. With
the exit of Josh and Tyke, do you expect Devin and others in that room to step up and really become the leader?
Heck, they better. If not, we're going to have to run a whole lot more than I plan on it. No, we really think him, Amador, Willie McCoy, those guys, are fixing to take another step. We brought in J.J. Sparkman, who we feel really good about. and we brought in DJ Allen, who we feel really good about. We also have Jamel Hardy that was really good for us as a young player last year. So Jaron Randall's been here for a minute. He knows what the heck he's doing out there. So we're deep, and we still hope we'll get JT back at some point. So and I'm sure I left out someone that's in that room that's really good, just by trying to rattle off all of them. But that's a good room.
You mentioned Willie.
Did I say Jace Wilson? I don't know if I even said Jace. I mean, Jace is really coming on as well, and he's a big 6'4" target.
I wanted to ask about Willie, not just being back for the spring, but being able to come back for the bowl game after that injury. What did it mean to see that he was able to get back on the field, and now that he's able to go through everything again this spring?
Speaking about Willie McCoy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one that's just really, he's really come on, because you can tell he's been here a year now. It's very similar to what you're talking about with Devin, just they know what they're doing now. So Willie's got unbelievable talent. He's a guy that you talk about could be a number one in the room, because he could be the same. And really excited to see what Willie does.
What do you remember thinking back on that moment that you got hurt, and just kind of what the process was like to get him back, and sort of the relief that I'm sure everybody felt going through all that?
Yeah, whenever you got a kid down like that, especially what we went through the year before, most of the time you go out there, it's good news. But boy, we had the year before last, we went out there 3 times, and it was as bad a news as I've ever gotten almost. So those things scar you a little bit, honestly. And I'll have to admit I was pretty scared out there. But I remember him looking up at me though, and he told me he was fine, and that made me feel better. But I wasn't going to be sure of that until we got the report back. Really thrilled he's back and rolling.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Coach.
it.